This week's podcast is sponsored by MPB, the platform to buy, sell and trade used photo and video kit. MPB has the UK's largest range of used photo and video kit with over 10,000 products on their platform. Go to www.mpb.com to find out more.
Hello and welcome to the AV Forums podcast for Monday the 24th of October 2022, and we're back again for the hardware edition. If you want the movies, they're along at 8:30 tonight, so Kaz and the team will be along a little bit later if movies are your thing. But what are you going to watch your movies on? Hardware. That's why we're here tonight. So joining me tonight are podcast regulars Ed Selley, Julian Scott and Ian Collen. Good evening, guys.
Evening, Phil.
Hi there, Phil.
And we're also joined by one of our new reviewers, new to AV Forums, although Doug has been reviewing for quite some time now. But welcome, Doug Pyper. Hello, Doug.
Hello. Good evening.
So let's introduce you to the podcast audience then. So maybe you could give us a little bit about your career background, what you do for a living, how you got into AV and all that kind of thing.
Okay, so my day job's it's quite dull. I'm a civil servant. I kind of work in politics. Well, I should say it's not that dull at the moment, to be honest, with what's going on in the political world. But I've always been interested in AV. I actually started my career in AV, more on the home cinema side. I worked in Tottenham Court Road back when Tottenham Court Road was kind of the place to go to pick up the latest kit. Then after that, I went to Harrods, worked there in their AV section for a bit, sold some pretty seriously high-end kit there. Also, it was the dawn of plasma television. So it's when plasma TVs were selling for something ridiculous, like 10 grand a piece. I sold Rowan Atkinson one, Rod Stewart one.
Oh.
Mick Jagger came in, but he bought a wind-up torch, so that's not quite as impressive. But they're my claims to fame. So I've always been interested in AV, and that's where I started my career. It was only after leaving Harrods that my career I went on to uni, and kind of my career went towards the civil service, but I keep up with AV in my spare time. And of course, now I'm doing this, so that's keeping me.
So you're basically the typical AV Forum member. Well, that's where we found you on the forums. Typical AV Forum member, you'd have a bit of kit for a little while, and then you were always upgrading to the next bit. So is it vision or audio for you in terms of where your loyalties lie?
I'd say it's audio.
Okay.
I'm interested in the video side, but I'm far more into the audio side. So that's where I always focus on the upgrades. That's where
You're
where all
full
my
to 2-channel yet?
I go in and out of 2-channel. I definitely go. It's not just strictly home cinema for me. I'm into my hi-fi as well. But it's very, very much peaks and troughs with my hi-fi interests.
Yeah, excellent. Well, welcome to the team. So you've been doing some reviews for the website. So maybe we're going to talk about the Arcam a little bit later on, but maybe tell us a little bit about what you've been reviewing recently.
So what have I done recently? I did the M&K X12 Plus, an absolute beast of a subwoofer. That was a stunner. I really enjoyed that. I also did another sub, the Rel HT1510 Predator 2, which I thought was great, actually. Punchy. I was going to say punchy little sub, but it's 15 inch, so it's hardly a little sub. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. Anthem MCA 525, the 5-channel power amp, that was good. And the Anthem AVM90, their top of the line AV processor. I really loved that. I thought that was as close to the Trinov as I've heard, really. Gave the Trinov a run for its money.
So just to bring the listeners, viewers, and AV Forums members up to speed, what is your system? Obviously, you get review kit in, you swap it in and out, but if you've got no review kit in, what is your actual system at the moment?
So it's Trinov, Altitude 16, that's the processor. Power amps are Nord power amps, so they're all Hypex based. DIY subwoofers, 18-inch subs, got a couple of those. And the speakers are all JBL synthesis.
Okay, so
so the kind of the older synthesis range.
yeah, so you've been on a bit of a journey. I think we've all done it in our times where we've started off, and it seems like you're kind of hitting the top end now, Trinov and synthesis.
I know, it's slightly frustrating. I've got kind of nowhere to go.
No.
Well,
if you do this for any length of time,
nowhere to go within my financial resource.
Oh no, that's completely different.
Yeah.
There's always somewhere to go.
Yes, yeah.
And the worst thing is being a skint reviewer. Especially when you get nice kit through and you think, oh, I quite fancy that.
Yeah, well, I've got some nice kit in the living room in the minute, and that's certainly outside my price range.
Right,
so have you got a dedicated room, Doug?
Not at the moment. No, the living room is kind of. I have to have it fairly discreet, so I can kind of please the other half, but still have pretty decent. What am I on? 7.2.4.
I am. It must be said, rationalising DIY 18-inch sub with the screen.
Well, one is designed to look like a coffee table, so you can't tell. It looks like a side table. And the other's behind some acoustic fabric, so you can't see it. But yeah, they're certainly not discreet when you can see them properly.
Your cup of coffee has that Jurassic Park ripple.
Yeah.
Excellent.
The number of times I've been to people's homes and the concession to the other half has been a doily and a plant pot on top of the subwoofer.
Yeah.
That's the only way that she would accept it. Hide it, disguise it with a plant pot.
Classy.
Excellent. Well, welcome to the team, Doug. And like I say, we're going to cover one of the products that Doug's been looking at a little bit later on. The chat window is also open tonight. If you are watching us live, then do put your questions in there. We'll do our best to get around to answering them. We're going to be a little bit audio heavy tonight, a little bit of projector talk as well. So if those things interest you, you can put them in there. TV questions, we'll take them as well, even though we're not really delving into TV tonight. We will have a look at those. Right, so tonight, what do we have coming up? Well, we're going to have a look at the new streaming box from Sky. I had a box of biscuits delivered with it to bribe me into liking it. Do I like it? I'll let you know a little bit later on. It's basically Sky Stream. It's Sky without the satellite dish and without the glass TV. So it's basically a streaming box at the end of the day. I'll also talk about the JVC NZ7 laser projector, which has been in for review at the moment. I've also had the two Sony lasers in recently, and I also have a JVC bulb base, the MP5. So I've been looking at projectors recently. So we'll cover the NZ7 this week and maybe the rest a little bit later on. And it's going to look at a Cyrus Classic Amp. So we'll be looking at that. Doug's going to look at the Arcam AVR21. Jules is going to talk about professional calibration versus consumer calibration. What are the differences between professional clients and consumers at the end of the day, and the displays that they use. So we'll get a little bit into that. And of course, Ian's here as well with all the AV and HiFi news. We'll be answering your questions, so do get them in. If you are listening a little bit later in the week, you can, of course, email us at podcast@avforums.com, and we will answer the questions during the following podcast. So please do that and mark it as questions in your byline so we can know what they are and put them in the right folder and come back to them. And to wrap up the podcast, as always, we will be checking out what we've been watching on TV, if there's anything interesting that we recommend that you go and watch on your telly box. But before we get started, what have we been up to, Ed?
I haven't been doing a huge amount. I mean, obviously, I've been working. It's been sort of a disjointed period. Just trying to get things done, trying to chase things up. There are obviously some logistical challenges getting hold of certain things at this time of year. I'm contemplating buying another watch because, I have a problem, and first step of dealing with this is to buy more watches.
At least you'll always be in time, Ed.
Well, no, except they're mechanical watches. They're considerably less accurate than the one on my phone. You know this. The only thing I will say that's quite exciting, it's not going to happen, it's not happened yet, but album of the week, which I'll discuss later on, I'm actually going to see them live a week tomorrow, which is exciting, isn't it? You can't say
some live music this week as well.
Exactly. So that's I'm looking forward to that. But no, otherwise it's been sort of business as usual. One thing I'm particularly proud of, as I say, my son now has his PlayStation 5. He's also not wearing his cast now, so he can actually use the PlayStation 5. I haven't touched it, and I'm quite proud of that, which means that I'm only moderately behind on my work. So, I think that I deserve at least some form of, pity nod for not getting sucked into latest generation gaming. So go me.
Excellent. Jules, what are you up to?
Like Ed, just a lot of work driving around, mini tours around the south, etc., including Monte Norfolk, of course. Ian will be excited by this. Went to Carrow Road for the massive clash against Luton Town last Tuesday. And it was utterly depressing. And so, came home with my tail between my legs. And enough said about that.
Punishment.
Oh.
It must be said, that's the first time I've seen the words massive and Luton appear in a sentence without another word ending in whole. So, I mean, that's something. I mean, we're breaking new ground.
You don't want to mess with the Luton Massive.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, they're hard.
Okay. Ian, what have you been up to?
Similar story. Obviously, lots of work stuff going on. Bit of gaming, of course, because what else is there to do? But I also got to go up to Sky's offices for the first time for reasons that you'll be able to talk about a lot better in a short while. And it's just massive. You kind of expect it to be quite large, but it's like just some never-ending university campus. You just walk around one corner and there's another massive building with the Sky logo on the side of it.
The last time I was there, and it was a number of years ago, but you just walk through the grounds, and I walked straight through the set of Soccer Saturday. What's the thing they did in the mornings?
They do the bins, don't they? You got to do top bins. You got to kick it into the corners. Yeah,
so it's quite surreal just walking through a lot of sets and that kind of thing. It's an impressive facility there. So what were you there for, Ian?
Well, it was mainly for the SkyStream launch. That was the day before the box itself actually launched, but there was also a lot of Sky Glass updates announced as well, including some software updates to give it a really it was very much a stage managed demonstration, so you kind of have to take it with a little pinch of salt, but it did look like genuine improvements to the TV itself coming as well, in terms of just brightness levels, getting those a little bit better, making the blacks blacker, the whites a bit brighter, and just hopefully making the Sky Glass TV itself a little bit better than it was at launch.
So no hardware changes, just software updates.
Yeah, it's all software. So obviously there's going to be limitations with exactly how far they can push it. But from what the demonstration that we saw, that just pretty much related to the brightness and some of the colors as well, you can see there are some definite improvements to come. So it'll be interesting to see how they look to your eyes as well, just to see just how good they actually and how big a difference they actually do make.
Okay, well, I don't know if we'll get Sky Glass back in when it's updated, but I do have a Sky Stream here, so we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later on. But basically, what you'll notice, the background is completely different to normal. That's because I'm not in the office, which was my old flat that I used to live in. It's getting renovated at the minute, so the last 2 to 3 weeks, I've just been getting all the samples through that I needed to get through, get them tested, get them measured, and then out the door again. So that's been mass testing basically for the last 2 or 3 weeks. A lot of hard work, but the place is getting renovated, it's getting plastered and so on. I may never go back either, because the plan is to move that on as well. Other things, I'm back to running again, which I'm more surprised than you guys would be at that. But went back to park run. The idea was that Michelle was going to do the running and I was going to walk the dog, and they're encouraging a lot of walkers to actually join on at the end of the park runs.
Do they just chase you around with like saws or sticks or something?
Yeah, the first week I walked round and it just took forever, and of course you got all these runners just tear-assing past you because you do 3 laps to get there, 3.2 miles. The second week I actually run quite a bit of it, and then this week I've been busy with the flats, so I didn't get to go this week, but I've done 2. We'll continue to do them, so we'll see how the running goes. And like you, Ed, I've got some live music this week. I'm heading out on Wednesday night to see Howard Jones in concert.
Blimey.
Oh, blimey.
You need to borrow that bloke that you knew through the Mustang thing, who had that Escort RS 1600.
Yeah.
It would just be perfect to turn up in that.
Absolutely.
And,
but we saw him at an 80s festival 2 years ago, And he was brilliant. He was one of the best acts on the bill, and we just thought, well, if he's touring, we'll go and see him. And of course, it popped up that he's touring, so we're going to go and see him and see if he's as good as he was at that festival. So anyway, that's what everybody's been up to. Obviously, you're here for the hardware stuff, so we're going to get onto that next and get the show started.
If you'd like to support the AV Forums podcast on a regular basis, then why not become a patron? Head over to patreon.com/AV Forums to sign up. You can also make a one-off donation through the Super Chat or via streamlabs.com/AV Forums. All donations help us to improve the website and the podcasts. Thank you to all our supporters.
And we got lots of new patrons, so thank you very much everybody who has signed up recently or signed up to the new platform Layer. We're going to tell you all about that. But first of all, new patrons, Peter McGann, Francisco Villena, Jeff, Lotus Alan, Sunil, Top Me Tom 2, Taran and Adrian Palmer. Thank you very much for your support. It really is appreciated for you signing up as patrons. Thank you very much. And we do have our first star supporters, and we'll tell you what that level's all about in a minute. But we've got Robert Wilkinson, Polly Favilla, sorry about that. Sam Vincent, V-Dub, Mike Pettigrew, Bruce Wood, Yatish Naradas, and Sam Mace. And I get away with it because I've got a Scottish accent. But yeah, thank you very much to your star supporters. Basically, the new star supporter tier, it gives you early access to our editorial. So you will get to see the reviews at least one day in advance of everybody else. It tends to work out about 4 to 5 days advanced reading of the reviews on average. There will be some reviews that just go straight live and you won't get early access to because they're time sensitive or we need to get them out quickly. But for the vast majority of the editorial, certainly the movie reviews, quite a bit of the HiFi reviews because they're written in advance, so they could be put out nice and early. So yeah, everything that's not under a time constraint of some kind will get early access. You get early access if you sign up as a star supporter. So you can head over to patreon.com/AV Forums, see what it's all about and sign up. And thank you very much to everybody on the list that has joined up and is supporting us. It really does help us improve the website, take on new reviewers like Doug, really expand the content that we have. And one of these days, we might even do a decent podcast. So you can
Hope
keep
springs
tuning in
eternal.
just to see if we ever manage to do a good podcast. Right, current competitions. There's not a lot here, but Ed, what can we win?
Right, you can win. Oh, load my blooming thing up again. A DJI, not DJI, Mini 2 with MPB. MPB is the organisation. The Mini 2 is the object, and DJI is the people that makes it. So get stuck into that. There are no previous winners to announce, but if you head over to avforums.com/competitions, you can enter that so long as you are a UK resident. Please don't if you are not. So there you go.
Yeah, and obviously a Mini 2 is a drone. Yeah,
Right, I'm glad you knew that.
I had no idea what you were talking about.
Yeah, I kind of gathered that. So yeah, the Mini 2 is a drone, and thanks to MPP for putting that prize up as a competition prize. It's a good one to win. Although you probably have to do, I'm not sure about the weight of that one. I don't know if you have to do your old pilot's license.
Can it take a weapons system?
Well,
Right.
I mean, you've seen some of the things that they're being used for in Ukraine. It's extraordinary. I mean, I'm not suggesting that you drop grenades on your friends or neighbours. We can't condone that at AV Forums, but I mean, it's fair to say that they are flexible bits of kit.
All right. So I believe, because it's just popped up in front of me, the Mini 2 is less than 250 grams, so you don't have to do your special license thing to fly it. But there you go. Right, so let's head into some AV news. So Ian, what's been happening?
Starting up, well, we've got a new TV from Loewe, adding to its Build V series of OLED TVs. Basically, it's the V48, as the name very much suggests, is a 48-inch 4K OLED that joins the 55 and 65-inch siblings that were announced previously. It's obviously a more compact design, but it still comes with a similar SL5 chassis, same quad-core processor, and there's an 80-watt stereo soundbar packed in as well. And obviously, you're getting a typically stylish design from the company. It comes with a price tag of £2,299, which once again raises the question of style over substance when it comes to TVs like these, when you compare it to some of the other 48-inch models around. Just one that I picked out for reference just was the LG C2 48 is only £1,399, so it's quite
Same
a price
panel.
difference. But yeah, so it's a question of, are you getting your money's worth if you pay the extra? But it's still going to be a very good looking TV.
The thing with Larva, it's a bit like Bang & Olufsen when they used to do their TVs as well. They are obviously other manufacturers' hardware. They add their own processing, and it's mainly design basically. So Larva, they are beautiful pieces of industrial design. There's no getting around that. But yeah, it's a 48-inch LG display panel that's in that. So it's £1,000 over what you would pay for the LG. Do you want that industrial design? Well, Larva will give it to you if you want it. So there you go. Never had one in for review. Don't know why, but they've never. I've spoken to their PR at length, and they've never sent one in. So,
but is it a new company now, Phil? Is it because they went?
Yes, well,
they went down the drain.
They did, yes. So it's been through insolvency at least once. I think maybe a couple of times actually. But yes, it's back again, and obviously a German brand. So, but like I say, we have asked, and they've never sent one in. So yeah, I've never spent any quality time with one. Anything else AV wise, Ian?
Yeah, Netflix has announced or confirmed rather details of the ad-supported tier, which is going to be launching on the 3rd of November, and it will come with a monthly subscription fee of £4.99 a month. For that, you get roughly the same Netflix service as the standard basic package, but you do get ads that they've said will run for maybe around 4 minutes per hour, and they will be appearing before and during both TV series and films. So that's the price you have to pay with a slightly reduced costing there. One of the perks that comes with it is that it will be in HD, whereas the previous Netflix basic package, which is still staying at the same price of $6.99, was in SD. But now both those basic packages will be appearing in HD from November. So obviously boils down to the question of, it's not great value for money in terms of a discount, in terms of having to watch the adverts, but times as they are, £2 a month could be a lot to some people. So it'll be interesting to see whether people do swing for it or not. But it's entirely optional. So if you want to stick with your current package, you're welcome to.
You've got to look at it. It's a third of the cost of the 4K top tier, which I believe is £16 now, $15.99. So say you're saving money, but you have to sit through the ads, and I don't think I could do that.
No.
What about you, Doug?
I definitely couldn't sit through the ads. Netflix is pretty much the thing I spend most of my time watching. So
yeah,
it's constantly the streaming service on the bubble for me. I keep saying that, and I never cancel it, so it's sort of irrelevant. But yeah, I mean, when I say it's on the bubble, I wouldn't then downgrade to £5 advert tier. So it's a bit moot. But I mean, they've got they are the streaming service that doesn't have a space program or Marvel, on board. So they need to consider their options, and I hope that it works for them. And who knows? This is the first exposure at this price point. It may yet find a different level depending on what the take up and the response is.
Yeah, I mean, I said £16 as if that was expensive for what you actually get and the quality that's on offer. There are a few dads in there, but it's instant access. There's always something worth watching on there, and 9 times out of 10 it'll be in Dolby Vision or Dolby Atmos if it's a new title or an original or whatever. And some of the stuff that they're doing, I mean, the Crown I always turn my nose up at, but I'm almost finished season 4 now. The production values of that show alone, astonishing. So they do throw the money at the screen basically, and I think even for £16. One thing I did notice though, and we're going to come on to Sky Streambox, is they do some deals through Sky which do look pretty good in terms of saving you money. If you've got a Sky subscription, maybe look at really you can switch over.
I mean, they're two services with considerable commonality of interest, aren't they? In terms of their position in the market, how they're funded, how they operate in comparison to the aforementioned monsters. So yeah, I can see more and more cooperation between the two of them.
And quality has always been good. Obviously, dependent on your internet capabilities, but I haven't found anything to be of particularly poor quality on there either. So yeah, right. Hi-Fi news. What's digging in the world of hi-fi?
Yeah, obviously you guys have got some very interesting stuff coming up in a minute, so I'll keep it relatively brief. But Linn have launched some interesting new updates for its Selekt DSM network music player. First up, there's a new Edition Hub enclosure for the player, which promises both greater rigidity for the frame itself and also improved performance. Obviously, in a typically stylish package for what's gone before it, although it does cost £9,950, which is twice the price of the previous option or the current option you've got, which is now known as the Classic Hub. So if you did want to upgrade, it's not a choice to be taken lightly. And in addition to that, if you still wanted to upgrade further, you can now get the biggest and best organic DAC architecture from Linn imported into your Selekt DSM, which also comes with the option for a stereo or a dual mono configuration. And those will set you back £3,250 and £5,505 respectively. And if you want to go all in, you can get the brand new Edition Hub with the dual mono organic DAC, and that will cost you the small price of £16,955. So it's
do remember that this is the cheaper of the tiers, because there's the Climax ones above this. But then actually, to be honest, in terms of what Linn's up to here, they're legitimately, this is quite an interesting thing. The organic DAC is their own work. It's there's always a tendency to say, oh, it's like chord, and they're using a field programmable gate array, and it's their own code on fairly bespoke hardware. I haven't heard these, and this is not a dig at Linn. This is different to Loewe. Linn constantly invite me to events, and I'm unable to attend. So this is my fault. I haven't heard this, but people whose opinions I don't dismiss out of hand have been extremely complimentary about the organic DAC modules, and it's not cheap, but you can legitimately argue that the more affordable tiers, and I do mean up to and including about £5,000, is dominated by other companies. If Linn wants to exist in clear air, this is the sort of thing they need to do, and they bond it to aesthetics and control software, which generally works extremely well. So yeah, it's a huge amount of money, but there's a logic to what they're doing here, which makes complete sense. You can dig out your inner class warrior and be upset about it, but they've got to earn a living, and this is a relatively sensible way of doing it.
Okay, well that wraps up the news for this week, so thanks very much, Ian, for that. And there's more news on AV forums, so get yourself over to the website and click on news, and you've got various categories as well: home AV, hi-fi, and so on, and Ian does a fantastic job at keeping all of that up to date. Don't forget the chat window is open if you are watching us live this evening. Hello, good to see you. Get your questions in there. We'll try and get them answered tonight as we move on to some of the reviews, some of the stuff that we've been looking at, and we'll talk about a little bit of kit. So I'm going to go first because we've discussed it, and I've mentioned it a couple of times tonight. Skystream. No, they're not sponsoring this podcast. They did send me some biscuits, which were very nice.
So you've admitted the biscuits are good. Right,
yeah,
okay.
they were very nice. My review of the biscuits is good. The Skystream patchy. Right. So basically, the Stream box, it's basically the brains behind the glass TV, and it comes without a satellite dish. So it has its own user interface, the way that the menus are laid out and so on. It's a little bit different to SkyQ. I do have SkyQ here in these premises as well, so I've been able to do some A and B and backwards and forwards. The main thing, the main problem I have here is that I'm using a 4G internet box from 3 in here. Obviously in the office that I'm using, it's a full system, very, very fast. This one, 40 meg down, 5 meg up, so not particularly great. Trying to watch UHD football over the weekend in HDR was a chore. It kept stuttering, it kept stopping, it would stop completely and then pick up again 3 minutes, which when you're trying to watch a football game doesn't work. And of course, the satellite system, the SkyQ system, no interruptions in the broadcast, still in UHD, HDR. So it definitely comes down to your internet. That was wired as well, not wireless. I did use an Ethernet cable into the box. Now, obviously, the caveat there is I'm using a 4G box. You need good internet for this if you're going to watch live UHD. The rest of the stuff, perfectly fine. A lot of the streaming apps, and this is the beauty of the Sky Stream, is it brings all your apps together. So you got Netflix, Disney Plus, Prime, anything you can think of is basically on the box. The whole UI system is based on what it is you want to watch. So it doesn't just push Sky content onto you. It will show you Disney Plus, it will show you Star, it will show you Prime. It'll even show you Freeview stuff. So, Channel 4, BBC, all that kind of thing. It will. Why is it when I start talking, we get the best adult dating sites popping up?
Because you're irresistible, Phil.
I thought that. So anyway, stop spamming. So anyway, yeah, Sky Stream. It looks great. Functionality wise, in terms of content aggregation and in front of you, it's a great idea. The thing is, you have to sign up to all these apps. You have to have accounts with these apps, and I've got to thank Sky that because obviously they sent it for review, it came with a full package. So I've got absolutely everything on there, and I can use it the way it's intended to be used, and it really does work quite well when you're just watching HD broadcast and that kind of thing. It doesn't stutter, it doesn't cause any issues. 4K still looks good. Netflix, Disney Plus, I didn't have any problems streaming from those.
Any Dolby Vision with that, Phil?
Dolby Vision. Atmos was missing with the Sport on the UHD. Now, it was on the Sky Q box, but it wasn't flagging on the TV as being Atmos from the stream. I'm not sure what the differences are there. Ian got all the bump, which I'll have to get because I didn't go on the launch. So there maybe is a reason why it doesn't do Atmos with the Sport channel. I don't know. I'm testing it with a Panasonic LZ2000, a 55-inch at the minute. And like I say, interface-wise, using it with that TV, and this is the whole idea. It's so you don't have to go with your Sky Glass TV. You can use any TV with it. I like the idea. I like the way the content is aggregated together, and you can find things easy. The voice control, little microphone, you ask it a question, and it'll bring up everything across all of the apps related to the content. So if you say, give me a film of Harrison Ford, it won't just bring you back Sky Cinema, it'll also bring back Film 4, it'll bring back any of the terrestrial channels that films are on. And so in that respect, it's really, really good. Sport-wise, like I say, I got given the full package with this. So there's BT Sport and Sky Sports and so on. Again, plenty of choice. If you got poor internet like I have at this house here, stick to HD and it's fine. If you try and go 4K with the live stuff, like I say, if you haven't got a great internet, it does tend to stutter and judder around a little bit. But yeah, I mean, the full review will be coming soon. Like I say, I'm benchmarking it against the Sky Q box that I've had here for a while, which is satellite based. So in terms of image quality, I haven't seen any difference yet in image quality. The compression's exactly the same. It's always been a blocky mess with movies and fade to blacks and so on. It's the same on the Sky Q box as it is on the Stream box. I think these are things that you kind of accept with this moment in time. You either love it or hate the convenience. If you're looking for a serious system, obviously it's not for serious movie watching and so on because of the issues with Sky's compression. It's something I've always complained about. But for the convenience side of things, if you're just sitting down on a Friday night and you just want to, veg out and watch something, it's a great way of finding content. And it's the size of an Apple TV, little box that just sits under the TV. HDMI connector, there's an Ethernet connector and an RF for TV channels. So yeah, full review coming soon, so that's all right. Ian went to the launch. Ian, anything I've forgotten to mention there?
I think that covers most of it. Obviously, the website, the news stories up on the website, it covers all the key details that Sky were willing to talk about at launch. But no, nothing else to add. Sounds good.
There is one question I have, gentlemen.
Go on.
Is there any? Was there any indication at all if this is seen as a successor to the Now TV platform? I mean, the two going to continue to is Now TV going to continue to wobble alongside it, or is the eventual plan that televisions ship with something approaching this platform on board, and it's a more cohesive sort of cross Sky experience?
I can't answer that question directly because I don't know. what I will tell you about this is that you need a separate subscription for it. So if you have Sky Q, you can't just add one of these pucks. You have to have a separate account for the Sky Stream Spark. So you need to have 2 subscriptions basically. If you've already got Sky Q, it won't run alongside this, which I did find a little bit confusing because they phoned me up the VIP line to switch it on, and I said, well, can you just put it onto my existing account? And it was like, no, it has to be completely separate. So yeah, if you're going for Sky Stream, it's a completely separate subscription. It's not connected to anything else you might have with Sky, like a Q box or whatever. As for Now TV, I don't know, Ed, is the honest answer.
I mean, it would seem logical, but then Sky doesn't always do logical.
No.
So we'll still wait to see, I guess.
No, and the thing that surprised me a lot about Sky is that they used to be at the forefront when it came to broadcast technology. They were always the one pushing the envelope and pushing other broadcasters to keep up. It seems to be that they're now just concerned with Premier League and being able to buy the rights for those games, and it seems that because of that they are lagging a little bit behind. It's nice to see this technology, but it's about 3 years too late, if you ask me. They seem to be resting on their laurels basically and not pushing it. So it's a really nice proposition. I need to use it a little bit more. I've only used it over the weekend. It only arrived on Wednesday or Thursday last week. So yeah, I need to use it a little bit more. But it's promising, and it's a decent solution. And Michael said in the comments, and I think he's correct, that you can have a number of these stream boxes. I don't know about the account, so that's something I'm going to have to speak to Sky about. But obviously with Sky Q, you're limited to just the main box being UHD, HDR. The mini box doesn't do that. It's HD only, which always annoyed me because I had the 4K box in the living room and an HD box in the cinema room. It should have been the other way around, but then I was testing TV. So anyway, JVC projector, we'll come back to that because Ed's going to talk about some audio just to break things up a little bit. So what have you been looking at, Ed?
I've been looking at many things, but the item up for discussion, which is already available to the premium tier subscribers, is the Cyrus Classic Amp, which you will be astonished to hear is an amplifier. The thing is, Cyrus has been on a bit of a roll lately. Almost everything that I have been sent from Cyrus in the last 4 years has been extremely good. And this is no exception. What they've done here is they've taken some of the things that appeared in the XR amps, which the reviews for both the i7 and the i9 are also available for you to peruse on AV forums at your leisure. And they've combined it with some of the thinking that went into the old 6 and 8 series products. Now, those lines are going to be replaced by this single classic series of products over the course of the next few years, including, most notably, a streamer that uses the Blue OS platform. It's the first Cyrus product to do that. Let's ignore that for the moment because that doesn't exist yet. This is a very, very good amplifier. Extremely good, in fact. It basically, depending on what you need from your amplifier, it may make more sense than the i7, which I regarded as the unluckiest amp of last year because it was sensational. It just got pipped to the post in the Editor's Choice Award. The classic amplifier, the digital board is not as sophisticated. If you need USB in, if you need DSD, if you need things like that, it can't do that. It also, and you'll have to bear with me on this one, this amplifier is black and it's available in silver, but the black is not the same black as the XR products, which come in really black. So this comes in old Cyrus black, and it comes with the old Cyrus display. Now, Cyrus calls it classic. I call it old-fashioned. It's hard to read, and it just doesn't look very nice. That's the end of my criticisms. Unlike the i7, you get quite a lot more power. You get basically the same selection of inputs. You get a sensationally good phono stage. And I have really, really, really enjoyed having this in and listening to it. It is a genuinely entertaining amplifier to listen to and live with. And it really deserves praise and a huge amount of recommendation. One of the pictures that's just cropped up in the thread from Stuart is the remote It must be said, Cyrus doesn't make as much of a play about this as they should. The remote control is not only able to control all of the Cyrus products, but it's actually a learning remote. You can do other things with it as well. If you have the time and inclination to read an instruction manual, and I know as men we don't read instruction manuals, but you'll have to bear with me on this. You can control loads and loads of different things with that, and it's a really nice thing to use. And it makes using the amplifier absolutely pain-free. This is an excellent product. The review is, as I say, is up for the premium people. It will be going live for everybody reasonably soon, I would have thought. And I think it continues Cyrus's excellent run of form, making amplifiers in particular they've been enjoying for the last couple of years. And if you have got £2,000 to spend on an integrated amplifier and you have some source equipment already, specifically a turntable, potentially your own digital front end as well, this arguably makes more sense than the £500 more i7 does. So well worth checking out. Well done, Cyrus. I can't wait to see the rest of the stuff.
Okay, excellent, Ed. And unfortunately, you didn't get a best adult dating site pop up while you were speaking.
No, but that's just because I lack the raw magnetism that you have, Phil. I'm in a good place.
Could have been you because you mentioned the Linn Climax.
Yes, this is true.
Yeah, when you said the pricing, I just thought, it's you coming. Right, Doug, let's talk about Arcam AVR21. You've been looking at that. What did you think?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was very good. So the AVR21's obviously part of Arcam's refreshed range of AVRs and processors. It looks exactly the same as the old range. So it has that sort of grey silver finish, that steel chassis. But the big change for this generation is the inclusion of HDMI 2.1. And it's fully featured HDMI 2.1. So you get 8K 60 Hertz, 4K 120, Dolby Vision, HDR 10 plus, HDR 10, HLG, VRR, QMS, QFT, etc. The full gamut. So it's quite a mouthful, but the basic proposition is that it can sort of sit at the center of your gaming and home cinema system very happily. It's 7 powered channels, and they're 90 watts per channel, all channels driven. I think they're 125 watts per channel if you only have 2 channels driven. Which puts it in the middle of the bunch from the new AVR. So there's the AVR11 just below, which is 60 watts per channel, I think. That will only decode 12 channels, whereas the Arcam the Arcam does, the AVR21 does 16. So that could, if you couple it with other power amplifiers, it can be the center of a 16-channel home cinema system. The one above, the AVR31, is broadly identical, although it has Arcam's Class G amps in there with a bit more power. So they're 100 watts per channel, all channels driven, I think. Also, very comprehensive streaming options. So if you have Apple AirPlay, Google Music, Google Chromecast, Spotify Connect, Tidal Connect, that will all work with it. It's also Roon ready. So if you're a Roon user, it will work with that. I think it will only play Roon in stereo, whereas some manufacturers you can actually do multi-channel audio via Roon, but I think this is just Roon in stereo. It's also got aptX HD, so if you want to connect to it Bluetooth, you can use that.
Doug, one of our long-term users and subscribers has asked the question that I think a lot of people are probably wanting to ask about this product, given the manufacturer. Has this behaved itself?
I was going to come to that. Yes. I was very pleasantly surprised, actually, because I owned the AV40 from the last generation very, very briefly because it was riddled with bugs on release. And I'd steeled myself ready for the same with this, but I didn't encounter any bugs whatsoever, which was a real pleasant surprise.
Well done, Arcam.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the same kind of basic architecture underpinning it, right? So it's the same web UI and presumably the same sort of software. So presumably by the time they've got to this generation, they've refined quite a lot of that, and that's why they've had a bug-free release, whereas the first iteration, a lot of the bugs were with the software, so they clearly needed to iron those out over time. So you're really seeing a sort of a generation's worth of updates by the time we get to this generation.
Yeah, I reviewed the AV40, and when it first turned up, it was a mess. The thing was, if it had worked properly, it was an ingenious way of doing it. It's just nothing worked, and even trying to get just a basic streaming service up and running on it was absolute nightmare. But like you say, I mean, by the time it left, it was getting better. It had a couple of firmware updates by then, and it was starting to get a bit more stable. So it's good to hear that they've finally managed to get it running.
They've nailed it. And the other surprise for me was Direct, I never know how to pronounce it, worked flawlessly as well. And I've used that with a number of AVRs and processors now, and there's normally some sort of hiccup with finding the AVR on the network, or it cutting out during the calibration and what have you. There's normally some sort of problem. Absolute worked perfectly with the Arcam.
Good.
Yeah,
so
I think Derek's done a lot of work there as well. I mean, Jules, you do a lot of these calibrations as well. They've done a lot of work making it more user friendly, haven't they? And it working out of the box a lot better than it used to.
That was my biggest brown trouser moment testing stuff here for you guys, was with the SA30 stereo amplifier, because that had a moment running with the Focal Cantor under test, and obviously the tweeters for that are not inconsequentially expensive, and it put everything it had to give through them for one brief and invigorating moment. So that's quite relief. It's a good thing to hear that sort of squared away as well. So
excellent. So I mean, the reviews on the site, Doug. So just overall, how did you find it?
I thought it was fantastic. I have very little to criticize, actually. I mean, Derek produces fantastic sound. I actually put up some measurements with the review, so you can see the difference it made, and it took down a 15 dB bump at one point, which is huge, right? That made a big difference to the sound quality, and that really it's cliche to say lifts a veil from the sound, but I really did. I mean, that 15 dB bump is going to muddy the sound. There's no two ways about that.
Yeah, remember, if you use the words insight, or even my wife heard the difference, you get instantly fired. It's in our contract.
So, I'll flag the cliches when I roll them out. But no, I thought it was fantastic, and like I said, the big surprise for me was the bug-free, rock solid performance. Couple of criticisms: the web UI is looking a bit dated now. They really need to sort of up their game there. Vis-a-vis the competition, they're kind of lagging behind. Also, the quality of the microphone was not as good as Anthem. Anthem have a really beautiful microphone and tripod that they give you for free, whereas this is a fairly cheap plastic mic. But I think a lot of the sort of more serious enthusiast users would use it with a U mic or some other custom mic.
Yeah, excellent. Well, like I say, review is on the site, so if you're interested in finding out a little bit more, head to the homepage. It's still there. It will be there for a little while yet. So go and read Doug's review on that one. Thank you very much, Doug. Nigel Henry asked the question, and I said it's good news. He still needs to update his Susano someday. I have fond memories of that Pioneer amplifier. Many moons ago, when I first got into this and doing it full time, I actually spent some time at Air Studios with Jim Catcheside, who used to work for Pioneer, and it was in the development of the Susano, and it was an absolute fantastic piece of engineering from Pioneer. Sadly, they don't make them like they used to. Sadly, but yeah, cracking bit of kit that. So hopefully that answers your question, Nigel. We're moving on. Jules, let's talk about calibration. Professionals versus consumers. I'm going to guess there is a difference. Obviously, I don't know the answer to this, but our listeners maybe don't. So what is the difference between pro? No, see, I'm getting that best out of date count again. Fantastic. What is the difference, Jules?
Well, I think when you go into a grading studio, which I have the privilege to do quite often, you realise the whole system is set up, or it should be set up properly according to specifications. Everything is literally regulated. SMPTE, Society of Motion Picture Television Engineers, have loads of loads of standards and references to go with. For example, you should be sitting 3 to 3.2 times the screen height of your grading monitor away, and don't go beyond 30 degrees to the left or right of it. The color of the walls, everything is dictated. So, what you don't want is colorful walls, so that when you look away, you see a yellow wall, and you come back, and then suddenly people don't look correct on screen anymore. So everything is taken into account in a regulated environment. Of course, the home's very different. There is the wife accept, well, I should say partner acceptance factor nowadays. You can't always change your living room, can you, into that perfect black hole to view content. So when we're calibrating the grading studio, we stick to the absolute references. It's 100 nits, peak output for SDR, etc. But there is some accommodation in your living room. You can't always sit that 3 to 3.2 screen height away from it. You might have white walls, you might have red walls, whatever. 100 nits isn't necessarily going to work for you if you're sitting further back. So we have to make some sort of estimation to increase the output of your TV so that it perceptually looks like it does when you're in the grading studio. So we're trying, so we do try and stick to references as much as possible. And if you can change your room to go with those references, you'll be rewarded. But there are things that we can do in the living room to at least to make it at least perceptually very, very similar to what you're getting in the grading studio.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you could go and buy yourself a 30 grand grading monitor, plug it in your living room. You're not going to get the best out of it. It's designed to be in that environment, that grading environment.
Yeah.
Same with a JVC projector.
Yeah.
You don't go and buy spend all that money on a JVC and stick it in a white room.
Exactly.
You defeat the object of having something like that. So, when it comes to workload, Jules, is it more difficult to do pro or consumer?
The consumer takes longer. If you're doing something like an LG display, which you could be doing 7 picture modes in one day, Dolby Vision game, HDR game, it takes a lot longer. When you're in a commercial situation, they want you in and out as soon as possible because that studio costs money. They need to grade on it, so you can't take all day. Literally, they want you in, half an hour calibration and you're out. And often, because of the quality of the monitor you're using, it's just a 2-point white balance. A lot of them, because of the processing that's in them, the quality of electronics, a 2-point white balance gets you color accuracy. Bang, 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 bang. They're so good, really good.
So that's what you're paying the big bucks for.
Absolutely,
well.
Yeah.
That's why it costs 30 grand for a monitor.
Yeah, I've got a studio coming up with 4 of those monitors. The Sony BVM HX310s you're mentioning there. They got 4 of them. Yeah.
Serious stuff. So there you go. If you've ever wondered what the difference was between pro and consumer, Jules has just let you in the door there, and we're going to deep dive into calibration and so on, probably into the new year. So stay tuned for that. We're going to get into some serious calibration talk in the new year. A question's just popped up, probably best suited for Doug, actually. Doug, best starter Atmos DTSX cinema room amp for somebody coming from a Sonos Arc, and he's asked, would the Denon AVC X3800H be a good starting point?
Well, you'll have to wait until I've had my say on the Denon. But I just Denon always great starter AV amps. You get a lot of bang for your buck with the Denon. They're feature packed and the amplifiers are rock solid. Lots of power in there for the money, so you can't really go wrong with Denon.
Excellent. Right. So the last product that I've been looking at, stay tuned for the review, it will be going on the homepage very soon, is the new JVC NZ7 laser projector. We've got a review of the NZ8 up already. Been up for about a year, that one. Getting stock is the main thing. Getting review samples in it has not been easy from JVC. They are so popular at the minute. And obviously with everything else going on in the world with parts shortages and so on, stock has been low. So it's taken a while for these review samples to come through from JVC. But the NZ7, it's one of those JVC products that kind of knocks it out the park. I've had both the Sonys in before this arrived, the 7000 and the 5000 from Sony. 7000, a very, very good projector, very pricey projector at 15 grand. The NZ7 beats it hands down. And that's literally within 5 minutes of switching it on and viewing a little bit of content. I don't know what the secret sauce is with JVC, but they just seem to nail it every time when it comes to a projected image. And obviously a projected image is completely different to a normal TV direct view display. There's just something about a reflective image which, you know, makes it cinematic to start with. And JVC really do a fantastic job. It's not that accurate out of the box, which is a little bit annoying. And it is a bugbear with me, and myself and Jules were having this conversation on Friday. You know, these are products that go into professional environments, or they go into custom install and so on. So maybe there is an assumption that these will be calibrated in the field. But even then, using the calibration controls built into them, they're not easy to calibrate, and you really need to use their AutoCal software, JVC's AutoCal software. And you have to use it with meters that are not particularly accurate, not particularly great. So I can't hook up a Klein. You couldn't hook up, you know, one of your expensive meters, Jules, or maybe you can in a roundabout kind of way. You professional calibrators know these things. That's the only bugbear I have, and it's annoying because JVC used to be great at giving you the controls in the projector. You used to get your gamma editor. You used to get you know, a CMS that would work. You used to be able to dial it in pretty accurate, and that seems to have disappeared now, and they seem to be relying a lot on the AutoCal system without giving you the flexibility to use accurate meters. So if there's one bugbear, that's a big bugbear for me, is getting it accurate. You can calibrate it, it's just a pain to get it looking any good. The big plus point for me is their frame adapt HDR. It is absolutely astonishing, especially with the laser engine. Colors look fantastic. Black level's amazing. Shadow details really, really good. And the lens on this one, the sharpness, just yeah, really, really good. So that review is coming up soon. And just checking to see if we've got any questions before we go into some other bits and pieces. So Pat says, first time catching you all live. Phil, are you going to review the 807 55-inch? No, I've reviewed the 65. I'm just writing that up now. So there's the 48 and the 65 in the 807. 55 and 65 will be the same. They use the same panel. 48 is a slightly different panel. So there is a slight difference in audio quality there. And I think that's all the questions asked up till now. So let's move on.
I have a question about the NZ7, if you don't mind. So you said it beats Sony 7000 hands down. Was there anything about the Sony which was superior in it, or was it just a clean run for the JVC?
No, the Sony is good. The problem with this Sony is it and the same with most of their displays is it shows a little bit too much in terms of shadow detail out of the box. It's a trait that they've got. I don't know if it comes over from their professional displays or not, but they definitely show a little bit too much shadow detail, which then shows up a little bit too much noise in darker scenes. Sharpness is excellent. The lenses are always great on them. Video processing is very good, but it's a very processed image. Again, much like the TVs, and it's using the X1 Ultimate processor in there. There is backdoor processing going on. So, and you can't switch it all off. So if that's an issue for you, then yeah, the Sony does kind of overcook the image a little bit. But a lot of people like that image. A lot of people go for that look. So. Is there a right and wrong? No, it's what you prefer. But if you want to do it properly and have accuracy, I think the JVC just looks that little bit more cinematic to me.
Yeah,
and again,
contrast is king, isn't it? I mean, and the other thing is, the Sony's got probably more lumens, but what you really need with any projector dealing with HDR is a form of dynamic tone mapping, and what you get in the JVCs is excellent. It's very, very good. It transforms the picture.
Yeah, it's much superior to the way Sony are doing it. Absolutely. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Doug. And again, I spent quite a bit of time with the 7000, and within 5 minutes of switching the JVC on, it was like, wow. And I didn't have that reaction with the Sony. So yeah. Right. Let's move on. Editor's Choice. We need to quickly cover Editor's Choice. So what is Editor's Choice? That's our annual awards. They start next month, and HiFi will be up first, then followed by Home AV, TVs and projectors. That's going to happen throughout November. So stay tuned to the website. These are the products that we've reviewed that are still relevant products. They're still available as manufacturers' lineup. They can be this year's product, they could be last year's product, as long as it's a current product. And the important thing here is that we've reviewed it. This is not an awards where we just pick what we think is the best and not actually having reviewed the product. So the one bit of criteria is we have to have reviewed it, and it has to have won a badge of some description when we initially reviewed it. So yeah, that's coming up in November, all of November. Like I say, we're starting with HiFi at the beginning of the month. It's the best products of the year according to us, and it's each of the main reviewers in each of the areas that will put these awards together. So we'll get Doug's input, we get Ed's input, we get Martin's input, and it all goes in there to more or less give you what we think the class of 2022 is in terms of the best. And it could be some 2021 products in there if they are still the best products. So that's Editor's Choice. It's coming very soon. Ed, what is your album, vinyl and playlist for this week?
Sorry, I was muted. Album and vinyl are one and the same. A genuine joy to discover a band I had never heard of before, and there's been some big new releases last couple of weeks, but this is by far and away my favourite thing. A French group called Black Lilies. They released an album called New Era, and it is absolutely sensational. I just can't stop listening to it, and I'm off to see them in London a week, on 1st of November, and I can't wait. They're French. They, like many French bands, have an effortless grasp on electronics, but more than anything else, sensational vocals and just some really interesting songwriting. It sounds a bit different. It sounds a bit new. I've ordered the vinyl. I can't tell you what it's like. I'm afraid I have a number of things currently AWOL in the postal system. Nature of the events at the moment, unfortunately, means that's how it is. But that would be head and shoulders my choice for the last couple of weeks. And then playlists. Tidal actually woke up, remembered they're a streaming service, and delivered a playlist that I thought was quite entertaining and quite different. Let me just.
I listened to it today while I was writing. It is entertaining. There's a few tracks in there I've never heard before.
No, exactly. It is a playlist of 80s tracks that you either from LA artists recorded about LA or basically just LA themed. And as Phil says, it goes all over the place. It's one of those playlists where you learn new things, and every now and again, no matter how much you may feel that you have heard all the good music that there ever is going to be, I think that's a terrible attitude, but you do you. It's an opportunity to hear new things and experience new things. Well done, Tidal, for doing something a bit different and actually making the cut this time round.
Excellent. Well done, Tidal. And like I say, I listened to that. It's well worth a listen, even if it's just to say, what on earth? And there's a couple in there that are very much like that. Right. So
some of it's dreadful. Yeah. Let's be clear.
Let's wrap up tonight then. What are we watching on the small screen, and what do we recommend? I'll go first because I'm much really. Season 4 of The Crown, I'm about episode 7, so 3 more to go. Excuse me, my voice is gone. 5th of November for season 5, so it's worth it. If you haven't
I can't wait until they televise what's just been happening. It's going to be brilliant. Just going to be absolute carnage.
And I don't know who it was when this was initially reviewed, but they mentioned Julian Anderson playing Margaret Thatcher and how conflicted they were. Yeah, I get that now.
Have you seen that it's Johnny Lee Miller who's
you fancied it, Phil?
I think the comment was, and I think it was Steve actually.
Strangely attracted to Thatcher.
Said he really likes Julian Anderson, but she's playing Thatcher, so he's really conflicted. I get that now. I can see what you meant. Sorry, Ed, what were you saying?
Have you seen it's Johnny Lee Miller playing John Major in the next one?
No, I didn't.
Oh, I promise you, it's
Right.
it's jarring but glorious.
That's
Well,
bizarre. Carl.
well done, Johnny Lee Miller.
Yeah.
Who's playing Edwina Curry?
I don't know. Should get Angelina Jolie in for the lols. Yeah, but
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I mean, hopefully they'll keep the money up on the screen because it has looked absolutely amazing. It's looking and sounded great. So, right, Jules, what are you watching?
Not a lot because we've been on the road all the time, but I have managed to watch the first episode of Old Man with Jeff Bridges. I think it's on Disney Plus.
It's very good.
I really enjoyed it. Thoroughly good. That looks like it's going to be.
There you go. Stuart has found Johnny Lee Miller as John Major on screen.
There you go.
It's
Excellent.
Yeah. So yeah, Old Man, really good. Well, at least the first episode was. So hopefully that's going to be a runner. It's difficult to find something that me and my wife will watch in all the way through because she loses interest after about 3 episodes. Now I'm not interested anymore.
well, there's only 4 of them, so I mean
that's all right then.
5% of the way there.
Okay. Yeah, it's good.
Excellent. Sorry, I was on mute again there. Having a bit of a coughing fit. Doug, what have you been watching? What do you recommend?
Yeah, the same. I've started
Cool.
The Old Man as well. I'm really enjoying it. It's got that that kind of Battle of the Titans vibe that Billions has. Billions, obviously, Paul Giamatti and Damian Lewis, and this has got John Lithgow and Jeff Bridges, and watching the dynamic between those.
Just giving John Lithgow and Jeff Bridges time to just do a little bit of acting is
Exactly.
pretty much a win, isn't it? So,
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying that. What else am I watching? Oh, I recently rewatched Top Gun Maverick. Actually, I watched that on the weekend, which I watched at IMAX, at our local IMAX, which was great. That's the way to watch that kind of film. And it definitely loses something on translation to the small screen, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thoroughly enjoyed it second time round.
Yeah, I saw it in the big screen, so yeah, interesting you say that.
Yeah, it definitely loses some of that impact. It's a real big screen film.
It's an event movie.
Absolutely.
Who have we not picked on? Ian?
I've been giving Freebie a go after obviously Netflix as they're launching their ad support. So I thought I'd give a look to see how it works. And yeah, despite the ads, there's some good stuff on there. I rewatched Southland, which seems to be not necessarily one of the most underappreciated shows, but possibly one of the more underwatched shows. It's a really, really great series, but I don't know many people that have seen it.
Person of Interest is on there as well, and I will continue to bang the drum. That's one of the very finest pieces of TV drama this century. It's just astonishingly good.
Yep, I think I've seen that from start to finish twice, so I can give that one a rest for a little bit. But yeah, Bosch Legacy's up on there as well. That's next to my to-do list. So there is some good stuff, and the ads aren't too bad. You kind of
although if you start doing multiple episodes, the frequency of ads creeps up. So if you watch 3 episodes, then leave it for 2 days and then come back, they don't give you anything like as many, which is possibly a bit cynical, but no, worth repeating.
Ed, you've been cynical. That's new. Right, okay. I think we've covered everything.
No, the only one that you've missed, but just to say, just Taskmaster is doing season 14. It's still one of the funniest programs on British television. It is just a joy to watch. If you are in a bad mood, sit down and watch Taskmaster, and you will be in a better mood at the end of it. Okay. You can't say fairer than that.
And Stuart's just mentioned in the chat, and I was just about to mention that Mock of the Week is now finished. So I wasn't aware they were going to cancel that. So yeah, I think it was 3 or 4 episodes in the final season. So there you go. And there you go for the podcast. That's about it. We're back again on the 14th of November. So tune in for that. I'm very sorry, but my voice is going. It's been a long evening, and I think I'm coming down with something. But anyway, my thanks to Jules, Ian, Ed, and Doug. Thank you very much, guys.
Cheers.
And coming up next is the Movies Podcast. And if you enjoyed this podcast, then you can give us a like and subscribe to the channel. You can also hit the notification bell and be informed. You know all this stuff. My voice is going, so I'm just going to skip to the end. I'm Phil Hinton. Thank you very much for watching and listening. And don't forget, join Kaz and the Movies team at 8:30. If you're already on the page watching live, just refresh your browser and wait on the guys come up at 8:30. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.